welcome back to Third Academy. Thank you so much for being here. Today we are talking about how to grow a Web3 community. So community management and community building is a really big topic in Web3 because a big part of it is about growing communities, co-building communities, DAOs, all of that kind of stuff. So if you are interested in starting a community and how to grow it, this is the video for you. Today we're going to be talking about defining your community, setting goals, how you market your community to bring people in, and how to acquire partnerships and what those partnerships might look like. So first is to define your community. Who is it for? Why would they join? That kind of thing. Then we're going to move into marketing, social media, hype, paid marketing, all that stuff. And then third is partnerships. How do you get those partnerships? What do they look like? And some added tips for you and some ideas that you might want to try. So let's start with define. Who is your community for? That's the first question that you should be asking, is really like your target audience. Who are you making this community for? Because that is really going to have everything else come after it, right? Your content, how you word your social media, the things that you create for your community, the products and services, where your community is held, whether it's on Discord or another place. So who is it for? Usually in Web3, it could be for builders or developers. It could be for students. Maybe you run something educational. It could be for an NFT project, something specific. Maybe you're making a comic book project that uses NFTs, and that's who your community is for, would be comic book readers. Maybe it's something more niche or specific. Maybe it's for professionals who want to learn about a certain industry or a certain career path. Whatever it is, you really need to start here. Who is it for? And once you have that, everything else will kind of flow. So, what makes your community enticing? The next question to ask yourself is, well, why would somebody join your community? They need to have something that draws them in and kind of keeps them there. So if you are an educational platform or you have an educational community of some kind, then it would be, you're giving people a place to learn. They are receiving education or educational support. Maybe they have peer support there or teachers that are there to help them. Maybe that allows them to get potential experience. Maybe they need experience in order to get a Web3 job or to move in a different direction. And through your community, they are getting the experience they need. Or maybe they simply want to learn a new topic or skill. And through the content that you are creating or the community that you're building, they're able to do that. Another reason why people might join a community is because they have a common interest in something. They want to meet like-minded people. And this is also great for creating sub-communities. If you have a large Web3 community, they can have sub-communities of NFT project creators, graphic designers, different sub-communities can form, and that's usually the sign of a healthy community. Maybe they're looking to have connections and events and meetups, and I know for myself, I've gotten pretty interested in comic books, so one of the communities that I'm a part of on Discord is a comic book community for professionals that allows us to meet once a month and connect with each other, and it forms those connections. The third kind of area as to why people might join a community is for professional reasons, right? Maybe they're interested in learning more about a specific profession or niche. Maybe they want to network for career advancements. And so these are three potential reasons, but there are lots and lots of reasons as to why someone would join a specific community. And that is really where you need to spend some time and really define that for your specific project. Next is to define your growth goals. So a lot of people start with just, I want, a big number of people in my community, and that's great. But my suggestion is to start slow, because the bigger the community, the more moderation you might need, the more activities there might be, the more sub-communities might form, and it might actually become harder. By growing it a little bit slower at first, you actually get to have more control over what you're building. You get to co-create with your members, and you get to learn along the way of how your project is really going to work, right? So you can start with defining your growth goals in terms of like quality connections. You want to bring people in and have them form connections and friendships so that it really does feel like a community, like they are there to help each other and it's a safe space. And so quality connections can look like people that are showing up to audio spaces, people that are connecting one-on-one, or people that are connecting in certain groups or channels. Then you could have a goal to have community leaders. How many community leaders are you looking to build up, right? As a community forms, certain people are going to show more interest. They're going to be more active. They're going to be helping other people. These are your community leaders, and it's your job to kind of foster and help them to become those leaders. So you can have a goal to maybe have your first community leader or a few of them. You can also have a goal for sub-communities. I really believe that sub-communities are a sign of a healthy community, so you can always look for groups of people that have, an interest that might be different from the overall general community theme, and bring those people closer together. And then you can kind of get into the numbers, like number of people who are using a service that your community offers, number of signups to events, number of members overall, and the number of reoccurring attendees to your events. So these are just some of the growth goals. As you go along, you will find more, and maybe depending on the project that you're working with or your own goals, you'll find different ways of defining growth for yourself. So depending on whether this is your own project or whether you are being hired to work on a certain project as a community manager, maybe the project will already have a community platform, or you might have to create one. So different community platforms offer, different things. Discord seems to be a place for people to gather and grow. Circle is a really great place that seems to be geared towards more professional networks. Twitter also has a community part of it, but it's a little bit less interactive. It really does function kind of like Twitter. It's just more niche in terms of the people that are in that, I guess, Twitter section. Then Substack, if you have a newsletter, also does have a community section, which is really nice. If you started to grow a community and you didn't want to jump with both feet in right away, starting with a newsletter like Substack that does have a community section could be beneficial to you. And then Telegram does have that community aspect to it, where you might be managing a group of people through Telegram, and basically anywhere else with a community hub. So it'll be up to you to make that decision as to where your community is being held, unless you're hired somewhere and they already have a community hub. So when you start to define, why would somebody want to join your community, this is what's going to lead to growth, you have to think about, what do you actually have to offer? So depending on the goal of your community, the theme of your community, you can offer high value content in the form of articles, videos, that kind of thing. You could offer topical discussions and a place for people to come together in order to discuss those things. Depending on if you have Circle or Discord, you could have channels for niche discussions and subtopics. You could be a place for curation, right? Maybe your community is for a very large and general topic like fashion. Well, that's really big, right? Somebody can't sit online all day and just look at everything. So you could be the place for curation. You're bringing them the latest news, the latest articles, all that stuff in one place. You could offer different clubs for people to join. I know BFF is a community that really utilizes clubs in a great way. They have clubs for developers, clubs for fashion enthusiasts, clubs for people to work out in together, and it all starts through their Discord. You could have custom graphics for people. Once they join your community, they are automatically gifted a custom graphic. And then there could be co-creation opportunities where members are able to co-create the community or product or service or project along with you. So they're kind of they're in the driver's seat along with you. So these are just some ideas. But once you have, your target audience, who is going to be in your community, why would they join, that automatically leads you to the next thing is, what are you going to offer them? So this is really a great place to start. So once you have all of that, and I know that was very brief, but if you sit down with it, go through it, and plan it out, really that's in the planning process of this community that you're building or growing, is where you're going to start to see your own ideas flow and developments are going to start to happen. So once that's all planned out, now you're going to move into marketing, right? People need to know about your community in order for them to actually join. So attention leads to audience building, leads to community building. So social media is still a big part of marketing and, social media marketing. So this is where we're starting with, and we've outlined some of the different channels. So Twitter seems to be the biggest channel still for Web3. On Twitter, in order to grow, you could use threads where you deep dive into a specific topic, and you might have one quality thread a week or 2 or 3 quality threads a week. And then at the bottom of your thread, you can attach a link to your newsletter so that you start to grow your email subscribers, your newsletter subscribers, and from there, people kind of are brought into your community ecosystem, and then, of course, they will join your community. You can use strategic shoutouts and replies. If you've heard the term reply guy, it's because if you are replying to larger accounts in your industry, people will start to see those replies, and if they are interesting enough or attention grabbing enough, they will start to follow your Twitter account, and then they're brought into your community ecosystem. You can also host Twitter spaces with members of your community, influencers, industry leaders. A lot of people are using Twitter spaces to grow and to build community on Twitter as well. So that could also be a very detailed strategic marketing plan for you if you wanted to go that route. It's kind of like hosting your own show or your own podcast via Twitter audio spaces. So LinkedIn is another place that Web3 networking seems to be booming right now. And these are the kind of like 4 places that I would use to kind of grow a community. So LinkedIn has a newsletter function that allows your newsletter to go straight into somebody's inbox, which is really nice. So if you start a newsletter on LinkedIn, your followers can subscribe, and LinkedIn will let them know that you started a newsletter. And if you keep it kind of on the same topic as your community, then that is a huge plus. You now have access to a huge network of people on LinkedIn. You can do LinkedIn Lives, and your video could reach your core audience. And then, of course, in the comment section, you could be replying back to people. You could be linking out to your community hub. You can utilize groups. So whenever you post something on LinkedIn, LinkedIn will ask you, do you want to post this in a group? If you find groups that are along the same lines as your community, that is a huge plus because you're now reaching a wider audience, especially if they are your target audience. And on LinkedIn, there's also normal posting like written posts, and there's carousels, which are really cool. It allows people to kind of swipe through and get a visual read on what you're trying to share with them. And you can repurpose your Twitter content into a carousel, so it takes less time to actually create. Then we have Instagram. So Instagram Reels is that short videos, right? Reels have a longer shelf life. I know for myself, I've posted a reel and then it hasn't gone viral. that day or that week, but a month later, it shot up to like 30,000 views. So it just depends. Reels do have a longer shelf life. Don't delete them right away. It could just, take off for you. Carousels are, again, those static posts, but they're like 4 posts at the same time, so people can swipe through them. This keeps people on your profile longer, and you can share more info with them in a visual way. There's also Instagram Lives. If you wanted to grow your Instagram account in order to reach people there and then filter them into your community hub, Lives is a great way to do this because it makes it more personal. And then, of course, stories is a very personal way because stories reach your followers, and the people that are following you might want a sneak peek into like a behind the scenes, a day in the life, or something that's going on within your community. So stories is a great way to, make a better connection with the people that are following you. And then, of course, with everything that you do, put a link on your Instagram profile to your community so that people can join. That's the whole reason as to why you're doing it. TikTok. So TikTok is one that could be debated, right? TikTok is kind of losing favor a little bit with certain people. But it's good for growth and it's good for reaching people. And it just depends. You have to kind of make the video to have a call to action to actually follow you, maybe on different social platforms or to just join your community, because otherwise they just follow your profile and they don't really do anything else. So the short videos can help you to reach people. You should make them entertaining or informative, and you should use niche hashtags. Whatever your community is about, if it's about Web3, if it's about comic books, whatever it is, you have to use those hashtags. Lives, once your TikTok account has 1,000 followers, you can go live. I would suggest going live on TikTok because it really does help and it brings more people to your profile. Also, TikTok is more like search now, so you can optimize your profile so that it shows up in the search bar, and you can use it when you're writing out your descriptions because the TikTok descriptions now have a longer character limit, and people have started actually using it like a blog, like an SEO blog, which is really cool. If you go on TikTok, try it out. It's like search. And YouTube. So YouTube is one of my favorite platforms because you can make searchable videos that last a long time. If you make a searchable video, don't worry that it doesn't have that many views right away. It will continue to get views over years. That's what SEO video is about. It's awesome. So start to make searchable videos. Where you're answering specific questions, where you're helping people to solve a problem specific to your community. And then, of course, in the description of your YouTube videos, always put the links to your other social profiles and a link to your community. You want to make it easy for people to join your community. You can also make videos that are kind of tailored to empathy or like creating an empathetic relationship. So these would be more personal videos or more niche videos. They could be like interviews with industry leaders, anything like that kind of builds a connection with the audience. Maybe they're not strictly SEO friendly, but they make a better connection with your existing members and then with people that do find your channel and join. And then you can use playlists very strategically to build a library of content for your members that can be both public and private. So let's say you have a public playlist for, general Web3 education. And then for people that are part of your Discord, you might have a number of private playlists. So they only get access to those videos if they join your Discord. So that's a kind of a strategic way to use YouTube. And then newsletters. So we kind of talked about newsletter before. Newsletters are great. I love them. I think that they are an underutilized marketing tool for many of the Web3 communities that we have. But generally, newsletters are topic driven, so they allow you to deep dive into why your community exists. you can use them to make your community an authority figure in your specific area. Of course, it builds your audience, which builds your email list, which helps you to promote Twitter Spaces, YouTube videos, promote community events, all of those kinds of things, courses if you have them. And it helps you to know a little better your audience, because you'll start to see who is actually subscribing, who's opening your newsletters, and it could potentially even tell you what location that they're in. So that's kind of like social media marketing, a little bit of newsletter, written marketing, and here's some other ideas for you that you can dive into in order to grow your community. So you could create ads in other newsletters. Let's say you are a Web3 community and you might want to reach other people. You would then promo your community in, let's say, like a Women in Web3 newsletter, NF Times newsletter, other newsletters under that niche. You could do sponsorships and collaborations in other audio spaces. So you could sponsor different audio spaces, or you could be a guest on audio spaces, or you could collaborate with another community to host audio spaces. Your community itself could host a podcast. Podcasts have amazing reach if you do them the right way. You could do press releases in different publications. Cointelegraph, CoinDesk are all great publications that do press releases. You can write articles on Medium, on Mirror. If you have a website, you could write articles, make them search friendly. You can cross promote with other communities, which we will get into when we talk about partnerships. You could run giveaways if you have merch or NFTs or like anything that could be a giveaway. You can generate memes, which generate like culture of your community, and people could share them across social media. You could become a sponsor or become involved in other clubs or host different events. You yourself could host an in-person networking event for your community, or you could be a part of one, or just like go to them and network and share your community and what it's about. You could do influencer marketing, where influencers shout your community out or share your community in some way. And you can also do paid marketing, where you pay for ads across social media platforms or Google or anything like that. So finally, we're getting into partnerships, right? Partnerships are a great way to grow your community, and it gives you the added bonus of reaching other people within your target audience, because generally the partnerships that you're going to create are going to be aligned with who you're trying to reach. So choose your partnerships wisely. First, you want to make sure that they have the same values as you. If your values don't line up properly, your target audience is not going to line up, and it just won't be a good partnership. And you also have to think about long term. Where's your community going? What brand are you actually building? If your values don't line up, then it's not going to be a good fit. The audience, again, has to line up, right? If you're trying to reach working moms, aged like 30 to 45, and you go into a male-dominated community and ask for a partnership, those audiences are not going to line up, and your marketing efforts are going to be for nothing. So make sure your audiences line up. And then content-wise, you could do content partnerships, which we will get into. And you also want to make sure that all of your partnerships are reciprocated, right? I know that there are certain partnerships or people that will say yes to partnerships, but then when the time comes to actually share things or retweet things or participate in the partnership that they agreed to, it's not very reciprocated. So up front, you want to always define, what does this partnership look like? What is expected from each of these communities, right? And if you have that defined early on, it'll just be a lot easier for you going forward. So different types of partnerships. You could do a content swap, where maybe a certain community shares a piece of your content with a link to your community, and you do the same for them. Perhaps they make a certain piece of content for you, or they talk about you in their content, and you do the same with your content. The same thing could be done with audio spaces swaps, right? Maybe you host an audio space together. Maybe they have you on one of their spaces and you have them on one of yours. That kind of thing also happens a lot with podcasts. Podcast swaps are where a host will go on a show and then that same show will have that other host on, and they just swap because they have the same target audience and it grows both of their podcasts. Well, the same thing can be done with Twitter Spaces or any kind of like social media. You could do event promotion where maybe with the partnerships, they're coming together to promote a certain event, which helps both of these communities to grow. Maybe it's a cross promotional course promotion where that community is helping you to promote your course while you give them so many spots in your course or something like that. Perhaps there's a product partnership where you guys are coming together to not only create a product, which could be a video, a course, a digital download, anything like that, but you're also then going to both promote the product when it's ready. There's a lot of different ways that you can work with other communities or other businesses or other influencers to grow your community. It's really all about just getting creative and thinking outside the box and how can we make these partnerships work for both parties, and how can we make it so that we both get kind of what we want out of it and have fun doing it. So get creative. It doesn't always have to be the same things. These are just some ideas or some common partnerships, but you can get very creative. You can think outside the box with it. You can do POAPs, which is basically if somebody shows up to an event, they receive a certain amount of your token, or they receive a digital certificate that they were there. And through maybe amassing so many tokens or amassing so many certificates, then they're entered into a draw, or they're given a private piece of content, or really anything. So POAPs can be a great Web3 tool that actually helps you to grow your community. You can also look at like how do we cultivate quality connection, because that is what matters, especially in the beginning. And don't forget about that. Really, if you can cultivate an atmosphere where quality connections grow, then you're doing something right. Quality content also matters. If you're in the content game, if you want to have an educational community or an entertaining community, trying to find a way to create content or create those open spaces for people matters. You can use data for growth. So if people sign up to your newsletter, or if people sign up using a type form or something like that, you can ask them a series of questions that gives you a little bit more information about who they are and about what they're actually looking for. And then you can build your community in order to give them that thing. Co-creating with members works really well, where you can do different polls and surveys, making sure that what you're creating is on track for them. And co-creating allows people to feel like it really is their community too. There's a connection that's formed there. They return, they tell their friends, and it grows. And before you really begin growing, it should be really you should be able to define what it means to be a member. So for Third Academy, what it means to be a 30 is that you are on the cutting edge of technology. You want to be on the cutting edge of your field. You're excited to learn about Web3, and you are a self-learner, right? You are self-motivated. It doesn't really take a lot for you to want to learn about these topics. So you're here because of that, and now you found a community of people that want to learn about these topics and are here to help you and support you. So that goes along with setting your community values, right? How do people act in your community? Are they kind? Are they helpful? Do they give helpful advice? What are the values? And keep in mind, as you grow, slow growth is good growth, right? We often see people grow by big numbers really fast, and we think that's how it is supposed to look like. Oftentimes, bigger communities do grow slow. We just haven't been paying attention, right? It will sometimes take communities years to become a true community, to grow in that way. So slow growth is good growth. If one member joins, if 5 members join, if 5 people show up to your audio space, you have a community. So keep that in mind as you grow. So thank you so much for joining us for how to grow your Web3 community. I hope that it did help you. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'll be happy to answer them. If you want me to deep dive into another area, please do leave that down below as well, as I would be happy to do that. And think about joining the Third Academy community. Come and join us on Discord and on Twitter. We would love to have you. And our other members would love to see you and be able to support you on your journey to create your community as well.